treasure yourself?
Greta's treasure is actually helping others thrive and be connected.
Her treasure is unity.
So the seed sprouted in a conversation about the arts trail and finding a treasure. I work within Wild Honey is a big hive of artists. So I was imagining all these artists coming together and forming this beautiful dandelion. And when the dandelion was blown, it would seed everywhere this art that we wanted to express.
Elevate was a magical project of hope and connection, offering an experience in placemaking and myth-telling through the creation of giant puppets who roam the Otways in search of hidden treasure. The project inspiration is deeply rooted in landscape and our relationship with its inhabitants. It peers into the cracks and fissures beneath moss and stone. It reawakens nature spirits, guardians of the land, and heals the world through fairy tales. After a long and difficult journey with the impact of COVID-19 in 2020 and 2021, the community reconnected through sold-out community workshops in stilt walking, large-scale puppetry, storytelling, dance, and participated in pop-up performances across 3 locations in the Otway region, Victoria.
It's a little bit scary coming back out into the world. We've been such hermits.
The hills and ranges took the shape of sleeping giants. I wanted to peer into the cracks and fissures, under stones, into creek beds, moss, into the richness and abundant fertility that we live on. I'd like to acknowledge that we live on Gadawanood country and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, a country that we deeply feel inspired by and privileged to draw from its roots and nourish our work and creative practices. My name's Eloise Wood, otherwise known as Elle or Ellie, and I coordinated the project Elevate. So being a performing artist during the lockdowns was really difficult at times. We had a couple of projects that were about to be launched that were pulled out in the last week. So it was that build up and the intensity with that was suddenly taken away. So that was difficult for us. But we received funding shortly after the first lockdown, and then we received a second funding as well. So we were really blessed to be able to go quite deep into the lockdowns with a project to work on, and we were able to involve lots of artists. So in that sense, we kept sharing through the lockdown.
I'm Hoya Wolfgang, and I was the puppet designer and maker for the Elevate project, and also had my hands across many other pots and pans. I got really excited and lost a lot of sleep because I was so excited, actually, dreaming up the mechanics and how to make such a concept into a reality. But there was also the added difficulty of just trying to source materials, especially through the lockdowns. I didn't know to start with how I was going to make the masks, out of what materials. We knew that we wanted them to have a very lifelike texture and shape, and we wanted depth to them, so I didn't just want a flat 2-dimensional mask. And it was a matter of trial and error. Making the giant's eyes was really fun and rewarding. So I had to make my own molds and do it all from scratch. And to produce, I think it was, over 90, close to 100 individual eyes. I had to find a way to do it in a limited amount of time. So I made a whole lot of molds, and it was pretty much a continual conveyor belt every couple of days.
This is Sylvia. She is a mountain and psychic giant. She has heterochromia, and when she's near her heartstone, not only do her powers activate, but her third eye opens. But she hasn't been with her heartstone for years, so it's unknown what the colour of her third eye is.
The Elevate project was to be launched in person at St Mary's Primary School with 300 children attending. COVID lockdown hit and we went from an in-person incursion to a virtual incursion with the school. It put a bit of pressure on us all. Again, we had to get really innovative, and again, I'm really grateful for the artists that were involved in the incursion. I thought we did a really fantastic job. I learnt a lot technically about delivering an incursion, just working in the cyber world and not having that direct connection with the children. We were inviting the community to come in and learn how to walk on stilts for the first time. So to do that, I had to order 15 sets of stilts. At the time, I thought putting the application in, no problem. I can just get the stilts down from a supplier in Melbourne. Well, there was a massive, high demand for circus equipment at the time, and it was looking a little bit dubious on whether we were going to get the stilt. Up until the last week leading up to the workshop, I was talking to my supplier in Melbourne, who said I had the most determination he'd ever witnessed in a person, which is why I got them over the line.
Because I watched the little video that Ali had put up, I was quite intrigued, but I didn't know what it was going to be like at all. But I was quite excited, and I was also excited to see who would join and come.
The workshops were amazing. Watching the community receiving each other for maybe the first time, that was so special. That was like, job done. The project was already doing its job just from being there. So the first workshop was storytelling, so the people would come in and we'd set the halls up to sort of resemble a forest. So there was bird songs and sounds and ferns and beautiful decor that was set up by our wonderful youth assistants that worked on the project with us. They'd go into meditation and then into storytelling. Then they'd be creating a character. So it was all just a beautiful flow on. Then the character would go into masks, making the masks. So that was day one.
It's growing, it's building the giant, it's forming it with a whole bunch of different things, and I think that's cool. I didn't really know my character very well, so like I needed to kind of develop her, and I've kind of brainstormed like her qualities and what makes her.
His name was an ancient language that you couldn't read it, and then the translation is just Phil. And so his story is that he is looking for his home, which is a sky island, and he was living there happily until one day he fell off the edge, and he's been roaming the plains for 200,000 years trying to find the sky island.
This is my giant Aquarius. He lives at a waterfall, and he's kind of become the waterfall.
She's careful when she moves. She's careful and heavy.
And this is Hertha. Now Hertha in Viking is Mother Earth, and so she's as old as time itself. Who treasures her family.
She doesn't like it when other people get sad, and she will do what she can to make them happy.
The second day we started with a meditation again, so we just sort of eased a bit into it with a bit of movement medicine, into stilt walking, which was so much fun.
At first I was like so nervous about falling over or like moving my legs, but I was able to walk a little bit without any help.
When I first went on, I just stood up and I knew I was going to be able to do this. At first I was a little wobbly, then around the first 2 minutes I was able to just stand up and walk on my own. Still a little wobbly. But then on my second go, at the start I said, I've been training for this my whole entire life. I stand on one leg for 2 minutes every day, both legs. I've already asked my mum if I can get a hot glue gun, stilts and a peacock feather, and she said yes to all three.
Terrified. The second time I did it, I didn't feel like scared or anything. Like, if I didn't do it, I would like regretted it.
Watching their faces just light up.
Yeah.
Thinking that they couldn't do it and then doing it was just tangible. It was just magical to watch. We couldn't get them back inside.
No, they did explore every nook and cranny.
And yeah. The really interesting thing to say about the Bowen Downs kids is they had more fun falling than they did stilt walking. Pop-ups are one of my favourite things. It's just spontaneous eruptions of performance art suddenly coming to you. You don't go to it, it finds you and you're suddenly in it and a part of it. That's my favourite type of theatre. Pop-up was quite small. It was 15 minutes. We worked our choreography on the second day of the workshops on the Sunday, and then to sort of end the workshops we invited people in to watch the performance with the giants. But the beauty of the pop-ups is that it was the chance for the community to come together to witness art, but also just to be together again. We were really lucky enough to work down at the Botanical Gardens in Colac and along the lake foreshore for the finale. So we split up the performance into 2 parts. We invited the community to join in and bring a picnic on twilight, and we had one of the most amazing sunsets that you could ever dream of as a backdrop to the finale of this project. We had up to 600 people attend the finale, and the giants were traipsing through the gardens looking for treasure. They had a huge following. They got to meet the Green Woman for the first time. So the Green Woman was earlier in the project as well. She was the initial storyteller that heard the stirring under the ground and the giants coming. So she was also created for the finale, and she led the giants on the treasure hunt through the gardens and also down to the lake, where they performed a beautiful performance on Sunset to a great soundtrack. There was a reoccurring theme, I think, throughout all the workshops. At every place, through every story that was told and dreamed, was true self, belonging, and family. That was the treasure that everyone was seeking.
We set out to deliver workshops in wonderment, and I think we delivered that.
Yeah.